The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome back into the Wicked Weed studio. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. This is the Sportsocracy from the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different. The 7-round mock draft for the Atlanta Falcons. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all of our team-by-team content rolling up to the NFL draft. We'll be live in the Wicked Weed studio with instant analysis all 3 days of the draft, and the Atlanta Falcons on the clock at number 4 overall. We know what they're going to do. They're not taking a quarterback.
No, it's Kyle Pitts.
You're taking Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts is one of the biggest unicorns I've ever seen in my life. 6'5", 240, runs like a receiver. He's Darren Waller on steroids. I mean, to me, that's you look at what Arthur Smith tries to do. This is what John O. Smith dreams at night of being, and I think he would be a tremendous weapon in this Atlanta Falcons offense. I mean, let's be really honest. The best the Falcons have been over the last few years when Matt Ryan's been good. Mm-hmm. And now you have a legitimate NFL brain running the offense in Arthur Smith. You give him a weapon like Kyle Pitts. You have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. I don't quite know who's going to run the ball, but Mike Davis can do stuff sometimes. And
Matt Ryan's been good even when they haven't been good. They only won 4 games last year, but Matt Ryan was still one of the top quarterbacks in the entire league.
12th according to Pro Football Focus.
Mm-hmm. So it only makes sense to give him another guy to throw to. In the second round, they've got pick number 35 overall, and you've got them going with a corner. They added A.J. Terrell in last year's draft. Now they add another corner.
And I'll be honest with you, Elijah Molden is not really a stereotypical corner. This is a guy that can play safety. He played some safety at Washington. He, to me, is one of the surest bets in this draft. I don't see a path where he's not a usable defensive starter for a long time. You know, the physicality, he's only 5'10", about $190, so he's not a super physically imposing guy. But let's face it, starters in the NFL, the slot corner is one. And that's worst case scenario, he's a starter at slot corner. Best case scenario, he can be kind of a hybrid piece that you move around to safety and corner. Ironic thing is I have them taking a safety in college to play corner and a corner in college to play safety. That's fun.
We'll get to that one in just a second. Third round, pick number 68. One of my favorite guys in this draft, Kenny Gainwell, the running back out of Memphis. Todd Gurley's out of town, and Mike Davis has come into town for the Carolina Panthers. How does he fit with Kenny?
I think he is a great complement to Mike Davis. Mike Davis will be the one. That's the guy that's going to get the bulk of the between the tackles carries. Kenny Gainwell's a scat back, not necessarily as fast or as big as you would like him to be, but he's super elusive. I actually, watching the tape of Antonio Gibson and Kenneth Gainwell last year at Memphis, I liked Kenny Gainwell better. That was one of the reasons I was a little down on Antonio Gibson, because I like this kid so much. I think he can come in immediately. He had 3 drops ever at Memphis. A really good hands. He can be a receiving back and would be a nice complement to Mike Davis.
The Atlanta Falcons, the top of their roster is older, being paid a lot. They're going to have an opportunity to bring in a lot of cheap, young depth pieces. 2 picks in the 4th round, 2 picks in the 5th round, 2 picks in the 6th round. You got him taking Shaun Wade, the corner, but you think he's a safety.
He's not a corner. He's not a corner. There's nobody in the NFL that will draft him as a corner. I have never in my life, I've been doing this 10 years, I have never seen a corner that was worse on a Power 5 team that was supposed to be as good and as talented. He got beat like a kettle drum as an outside corner at Ohio State. Got picked on routinely, ton of flags, but he's still a pretty good tackler. Mm-hmm. And I think he can be a rangy safety. He's going to have to learn to play the position. He's never played it before, to my knowledge. I've never seen him play it. But I look at his skill set, and I think he can be a safety in this league. He's one of the best tackling corners in this draft. He's also one of the worst corners I've ever seen. 29 first downs or touchdowns in 8 games. I want you to think about what I just said. That's almost 4 a fucking game for an outside number 1 corner in the Big Ten. Woof. But there is talent there, and I think in the right system, as a free range, free safety, I think he can be good in this league.
Atlanta needs to focus a little bit on the pass rush. They don't really have one outside of Dante Fowler, and I don't even think he was all that good this past year. But you think they can get some value out of a guy at number 148 overall, Jonathan Cooper at Ohio State?
Jonathan Cooper is a dude. That's the best thing I can say about him. He is a dude. But he has a really good arsenal of pass rush moves. He's pretty refined for a guy that you're going to get late in the fourth round. Now, that being said, I don't think he's ever going to develop into an elite pass rusher. Length is not great. He does one day I'm going to come up with a term for this. He likes to just try to loop around the tackle, just try to outrun them to the edge and then out-leverage them. And that's not going to work in the NFL. I think he's a 4 to 5 sack a year guy, but I think he can start in a defense like this, opposite somebody like Dante Fowler that actually can scare you. But it's fourth round, you're looking for a pass rusher, so there's obvious warts. But he did have an almost 21% pass rush win rate last year at Ohio State, which is pretty good.
Here you go, quarterback off the board in the 5th round to the Atlanta Falcons, Shane Bichelle out of SMU. This is a guy who transferred over from Texas, comes into SMU, put up some good stats. Can he be a decent backup in this league?
I think he'd be a starter in this league.
Really?
I do. If you tell me a late-round quarterback in this draft became a starter, it's Shane Bichelle. And you know who he reminds me of a lot?
Who's that?
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
He reminds me a lot of Ryan Tannehill. He's not as tall. He's only 6'1", about 210, but he's very athletic, good on play action. I think this is a developmental piece because they don't have a quarterback now behind Matt Ryan. I'm not saying this is a guy that's going to slot in as the 2, but I think he could be a developmental prospect that Atlanta sees it, right there in the 5th round and just goes, yeah, you know what? Let's take a shot.
All right, what do you think about Shaka Toney?
This is a guy that I actually have. I don't dislike him at all. He's small. He is a small guy. A little thin for a defensive end. He's 6'3", about 240. They had him listed at 6'3 and a half, 260. Oh, he's not. So, the measurables have hurt him. This is a guy that I originally had somewhere in the end of day 2, beginning of day 3. Now he's fallen into the 5th round. He does what I said about Jonathan Cooper, that he has a refined number of pass rush moves. Shaka Toney's the exact opposite. He's a one-trick pony. He does one thing really well. He's not very good against the run. This is a situational pass rusher. But if given time, I think he can develop into a pass rush specialist. I'm actually higher on him than a lot of people are. A lot of people think he's going to fall into the 6th, 7th round. I'm not one of those. I actually think this is a little low for him. But Atlanta would would happily stop the free fall here and take Shaka Toney at 183 in the 5th round. 4
picks later, they have it in the top of the 6th round. Defensive tackle out of BYU, Khyiris Tonga.
This is another guy that doesn't have a lot of moves, but he is a gigantic human being. I think he can play in the middle of this line. The tape on him is kind of inconsistent. He never had great games. He's one of those guys that I wish he played to the level of what he looks like when he's carrying his bag getting off the bus. And he never quite did that at BYU. One of the knocks on him is going to be you were never really able to physically impose your will when you had more talent than virtually every team that you played. Here's the thing. You give me a guy that is 6'4", 6'5", 325 pounds, and he's this strong, I can teach you how to play the position. I can't teach you to be that big and that strong. And he's strong from the core. This is not like hyped up against lower level competition. No, he always looks strong. Kind of reminds me, if I was being Leaky Fotu that came out of the draft a couple years ago, he kind of reminds me of him. Very raw, but he's got a lot of things that, like I said, I can't teach you to be that big. And he has that in droves.
The 9th and final pick that the Falcons have in the 2021 NFL Draft could be Ellerson Smith, edge rusher out of Northern Iowa.
He didn't play in 2020, but he's 6'6", 245. I think he has a skill set that could translate to the NFL. There's a lot of edge and a lot of D-line help for Atlanta because I firmly believe Arthur Smith's going to try to build this team from the inside out. I think you're good with Matt Ryan. I mean, yes, I like them taking Shane Buechele, but I don't think you have to do a lot of things. Ellerson Smith's a guy that I think had he played in 2020, we would be talking about him as a late day 2 pick. This is a high upside. I'll be honest with you. He could end up as a better edge rusher than anybody on this screen. He could be a better D lineman in the NFL than anybody on this screen, but it's going to take time. And I haven't seen him in a year. I don't really know what it's going to look like. But had he been able to play in 2020, of which Northern Iowa, they didn't play this year, it would have helped. He got dinged because he didn't play. Nothing he could do about that. This is not an opt-out. This is my team didn't play games. But again, physical tools that I cannot teach you, very, very long, would be a tremendous value pick this late for the Atlanta Falcons.
A brand new era for the Falcons with Arthur Smith taking over as the head coach. Kyle Pitts, give him to him. The guy who used to be a tight ends coach, you know he's salivating, ready to get that freak from Florida on his football team. All the picks for the Atlanta Falcons you will hear right here live in the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get all of the draft prep leading up to the big day on Thursday. We're live at the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different. We'll see you next time.